Live interviews with different folks who are going to be speaking at the upcoming JavaOne conference in San Francisco from September 22nd through September 26th. Today I have with me Robert Savage, who is the creator of the Py4J framework. How you doing, Robert?
Doing great.
So tell us a little bit about your what you do, your company, and why you decided to write this library.
Well, I'm a computer nerd from way back when. I've got my Commodore 64 shirt on as we speak. And really, when the Raspberry Pi came to be, it brought me back to the days of when I was hands-on, in working with those early computing devices. So I've been a big computer guy since, the early 80s. And so in that vein, I also have a big passion for home automation. So about almost 15 years ago, I started working for a company called AMX. They're based in Dallas. And they are a big home automation type of company, home and commercial automation. So I've been doing that for a number of years. And then most recently, when the Raspberry Pi project came along, I decided to kind of start getting involved in the DIY movement and start working on kind of a project to help different Java programmers experience some automation of their own.
Okay, so Jim Weaver is on the stream, and one of his questions was, what was the sweet spot for Py4J? And this will probably also help folks who don't know much about Raspberry Pi or embedded hardware.
Yeah, so sweet spots. What I wanted to bring to the Java community was the ability for Java users to get physical, to be able to interact with the world through electromechanical devices like relays and sensors that they wanted to work with. The Arduino projects have been around for a while, and that's a fantastic platform. But I think that these new low-cost ARM devices with full Linux operating system give us a whole new world of power and capability. So I wanted to kind of start the Py4J project to help Java programmers to be able to play in that space with interacting with the physical world. So that's kind of what its mission in life is supposed to accomplish.
Cool. No, one of the things I like about the Raspberry Pi platform and also the APIs you wrote, which are really nice to work with, is it's really easy for Java developers to transfer their skill set to a mobile platform, whereas before you'd have to do either specialized C or work with a very limited subset of Java or some other language on the device.
Right, and that's still this case. So underneath the Py4J is definitely a platform layer where it's direct C code. Fortunately, I was able to take advantage of a gentleman named Britton Henderson's work, who produced Wiring Pi, which is a C library. So Py4J kind of sits on top of that and exposes that world of I/O communication to the Java community, so that all Java programmers don't have to, mess with JNI or JNA or anything like that.
Cool. So let's switch to your desktop. So
Sure. So my session, I went ahead and titled it "Let's Get Physical," because really it is about interacting with the world. So I personally see these low-cost ARM devices coming in and really taking over this space. And that coupled with this DIY movement of people programming on these kinds of devices, I think we're really going to see a lot of unique projects emerge over the next several years. There's nothing you can't do with these kind of things. It's extremely low cost and incredible amount of power for an embedded platform. And that really hasn't been in the hands of end users in the past. That's something that's been relegated to, C firmware programmers and companies that can afford to buy prototype boards and things like that. But this, absolutely. Well, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. The mission for Py4J is to make this interacting with with equipment digestible to any Java user. So I'm going to perform some show some projects and share the source code for some very simple things: turning on and off lights, sensing maybe distance sensors where you can measure distance between 2 points using some kind of a little IR sensor, and then interacting with serial devices. I've got an LED reader board that I print out messages. So maybe I'll hook it up to Twitter where an incoming tweet can be displayed coming through Raspberry Pi and then interfacing to real hardware, commercial hardware. Well, at the moment, it's still a project that's in development. It's certainly very ready to do simple things, but where I'm really focused on taking it forward is producing higher level interfaces for more equipment. So not just turning on and off GPIOs or sending data bytes over a serial bus, but more, I want to bring in some device that has meaning and to create an API around it. So, bring in a garage door controller interface, and then then the Java programmers have more of a device I/O, a device API rather than lower level API. So, pushing the technology up, making additional interfaces for more concrete, real world things.
All right. So that was a good test, and Jim nicely pointed out that I screwed up the audio. So what happened is when I switched to the slide where my video wasn't present, the audio cut out. Hey, Venkat. So I think we should do a take 2.
Okay.
Where my audio is not missing from the questions once we switch to the slide. All right. So thanks, Jim. Oh, he can't see me now. I'm not on screen. Where's my side-by-side? All right. So thanks, Jim, for pointing out our slight audio issues. And we will do take 2. Oh, so anything you want to change about the script or how we're going through stuff, or was that comfortable?
No, if it works for you, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll have to try to remember what I said.
No, I mean we can be fluid and do whatever we want the second take. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And where did you want to close things out? Because I wasn't quite sure how much more you had to show or talk about. Was that about the end, or did you have anything else big you wanted to highlight?
Maybe one more thing, and just maybe showing some web pages where a Pi4J project is actually doing something.
Okay, got it. All right, and then I'll kind of close it out, and we'll make it nice and short and sweet.
Sounds good.
Oh, other thing I figured out while we were doing this is my window is obscured by the title bar, so I had to drag it slightly over your face to get rid of the subtext, which is no good. All right. So, boop, boop, boop. Stopping recording. Welcome to nighthacking.com. I'm interviewing different speakers who are at the JavaOne conference in a couple of weeks in San Francisco from September 22nd through September 26th. With me, I have Robert Savage, who is the creator of the Pi4J project. How you doing, Robert?
Very good.
So tell us a little bit about why you created the Pi4J project and what you think its sweet spots are for Java developers.
Well, when the Raspberry Pi platform became available, I was one of the early people in line waiting to get one. I was very excited about the opportunity of having such a low-cost, low-power consumption device that could run a full Linux stack and more capable software. And having Java as a background and working with Java programming, I'm a big believer in the write once, run anywhere kind of philosophy. But the reason I created Pi4J because I wanted to extend some of that philosophy down to the I/O layer. Traditionally, communicating with the physical world through GPIO and serial and SPI, I2C, those kind of buses would require you to write more firmware level C kind of code. So the sweet spot for Pi4J is to provide very clean OO style interfaces for Java programmers to be able to communicate over the Pi to that low level access. So they can do things in the real world. They can turn on and on relays, lights, sense different things using hardware sensors.
Yeah, no, this opens up a whole new world of physical computing, which previously was relegated to low-level C code or APIs, which were fairly difficult to hack for developers. So do you want to talk a little bit about the upcoming session you have at JavaOne? I'm going to put your screen up.
Sure. So yeah, the session, I titled it Let's Get Physical, because really Py4j is about I/O. It's about being able to turn things on and off, to be able to communicate with other sensory devices or other control devices. My background's in home automation and building automation. So I'm a big, it's a passion of mine in life just to be able to automate things. So this is really kind of an introductory course or introductory session to expose people to be able to get physical, do things with Java program on a Raspberry Pi or similar device and be able to communicate with the physical world.
Cool, cool. So this is the getting started on Raspberry Pi hacking for your Java geeks.
Absolutely.
So what sort of other stuff can you do with the Py4j library in general?
Well, it predominantly is focused on being able to turn on and off, to sense GPIO, communicate over the serial bus on the Pi hardware, SPI, I2C, those kind of data buses. Mm-hmm. So it lets you communicate with physical other equipment. So that's kind of where it's at today. Where I see it going, and we're starting to work on those kind of interfaces, is higher level device interfaces. So the ability to create sprinkler controllers, garage door controllers, things that have meaning in life. Nice. That may have more logic than just physical I/O.
But built on top of those core constructs. Built on top of those core constructs for the I2C bus and the different protocols the devices talk.
Right. So bringing it one step higher and making it easier for your average consumer to be able to get hands-on and create things with it.
Cool. Do you have any examples of projects created with Py4j?
Yeah, I have I have a blog called savagehomeautomation.com. It's where I just like to write my journal thoughts or things that I'm working on in my house. So last Christmas, I used Py4j and a Raspberry Pi device to create a Christmas lights sunrise sunset timer. So the goal for several of my projects is to keep it extremely simple, to make it easy for people who come on board to be able to create these kinds of devices and not, they're not having to get out soldering irons and know how to do SMB kind of, complex development. So here, I've coupled this with a power switch tail device, which you can buy on Amazon. Look, just two simple wires connected up, and then I provide the kind of step-by-step instructions and sample program to set this up, where now this Java program running on a Raspberry Pi determines sunrise and sunset based on your longitude and latitude, and then physically turns off this power switch device, which your Christmas lights are plugged in. So it's a very simple concept, very practical, but an easy thing to get started.
Nice, nice. That's a cool project that folks can find on your blog. So let's take a couple of questions from the stream. One of the questions that came from Jim Weaver was he was wondering if you know of anyone doing PLC or Plant 4 automation, ladder logic using your libraries or the Raspberry Pi in general?
I haven't heard of it. There's certainly a lot of different kinds of people using it. I've been influxed with a lot of emails and tweets and things like that where people are using Py4j in different ways, so it's pretty cool. But as far as a concrete example of that, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, how about other industrial applications of Py4j? Has anyone contacted you with projects or things which you're using it for in the industry?
Yeah, I've been contacted. I think there's some people working on kind of car type applications where they're doing sensory devices on board of kind of DIY car,
cool,
electric car kind of stuff. No, I wouldn't say I've been contacted from a major commercial market. I mean, those guys have their own.
Yeah, but definitely Java hobbyists and your average Java developer trying to get started with informatics. And Carl had a question too. He's wondering how you control motor servos using Py4j.
There's different implementations. We have some stepper motor implementations, and I think just recently into the dev branch on GitHub, we committed one of our contributors provided some servo capability. So I haven't personally run that, but there's a brand new class sitting out there that communicates with a little microchip for servo control.
Cool. All right, so thanks for taking time into your busy schedule, Robert, to chat about your upcoming Pi4j session, and I look forward to seeing you at JavaOne San Francisco.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right, so I cut the